So any signal which is received by the antenna, which is an electromagnetic wave, it comes over here and it is converted to an electronic signal, and it is received by the receiver, which sends that signal after filtration to the demodulator, and the demodulator then uh, separates the RF frequency signal, oscillation signal, from that signal and transforming it into and giving an output as a composite signal over here, and that composite signal is being sent to all the band pass filters which are tuned at the subcarrier frequencies, and each band pass filter uh, allows the subcarrier at its frequency and attenuates the others, and the desired subcarrier of that bandpass filter is then generated at the output, while all the other which are undesired frequency are attenuated over here, and same is the case over here, and the desired signal is then being fed to the demodulator, which separates the oscillation frequencies from it and generating the original signal over here. So this was the diagram which was explaining the basic operation of the FDM demultiplexer. Then we have an application of the FDM systems, which are the telemetry, and telemetry is basically sending the data of some physical parameters like the temperature, pressure from one place to another place. And what happens over here is that the sensors which are getting the information of the physical parameters, their electrical characteristics or their physical characteristics are in relation to each other. Like if we have a sensor which is doing a detection of the temperature, then that sensor, the resistance of that sensor changes with the change in the temperature. Like we have thermistor which is used to detect the temperature, and its resistance is varied with the temperature. So all the sensors which are being employed in the telemetry applications, their electrical signals change and in relation to some physical characteristics. So we are talking about the thermistor. Uh, Here the thermistor is being connected to a resistive network, and we can straight away focus on the diagram where we can see all these things. You can see that this is an application of an FDM telemetry transmitting system, and over here what is happening over here is that we have various sensors which are attached over here, and each sensor is monitoring some information from the atmosphere like the temperature, pressure, or some kind of else parameters, and then we have some signal conditioning amplifiers which are being employed over here, and the purpose of these signal conditioning amplifiers is to provide a connection between the data acquisition system as well as the sensor system of the telemetry, and it is providing us the signal conditioning which is necessary to transform the signal into a kind of a reasonable signal or a kind of safe signal which is okay for the other systems, which is for the processing of over here the signal. So what happens over here is that the resistance of the sensor varies with the temperature, and then that signal is being conditioned over here, which is received by the sensor, and then due to the change in temperature the resistance changes, and due to the change in the resistance the voltage also changes, and due to the change in the voltage the oscillations in the voltage control oscillator also changes, and then all these oscillations are being summed by over here in an operation amplifier, which is sending the composite signal of all these multiplex signals after summation to the frequency modulator, which is then modulating it the composite signal with an RF frequency oscillation, and then the resulting signal is then further amplified and being sent to the antenna, from where the electronic signal is transformed into an electromagnetic wave. So This is an FM telemetry system in which various parameters of are being measured by the sensor, and the signal is transformed to a safe signal over here and being sent to the voltage control oscillator, where the varying signal uh, controls the voltage, and with the help of that controlling voltage the oscillations controlled over here, and then different signals are being multiplexed over here at various frequencies by this amplifier, and uh, these are modulated at the RF frequency, then amplified and sent to the antenna. This is a kind of FM telemetry system demultiplexer, where the original signal is received over here by the antenna, and the receiver filters that signal and then send it to the FM demodulator, where the RF signal is splitted from here and the composite signal is retrieved over here. This signal is sent to the band pass filters, and each band pass filter filters its desired signal with reference to its receiver, and then that signal is further with the help of PLL discriminators or demodulators transformed into their original uh, information signal. And the band pass filters over here are tuned in such a way that they are receiving the signal of their particular frequency or subcarrier frequency, and attenuating the rest and allowing only their subcarrier frequency signal to pass over here. So this is the diagram which is showing a block diagram description of an FM telemetry receiver over here. So then we have this is all the literature of the same telemetry system which we have discussed in the diagram. So another application of FTM is the telephone systems, where you already know that the voice frequency is from 300 to 3000 hertz, and with the help of FDM multiple telephone communications can be sent over a single cable, and this is being done by various telephone companies, and the usual modulation used for that purpose was the lower side single side band amplitude modulation, in which any of the voice signal of any customer is the modulation is this, which is the single sideband amplitude modulation, and the information signal coming from the customer of the telephone, and then the single sideband modulation AM modulation is being done, and then we have hundreds and thousands of customers on which this modulation is being done, and all those signals are then multiplexed with the help of FDM telephone multiplexing system and are being sent from one location to another location. And we can see that in this frequency division multiplexing we are using various subcarriers for different users, and for different customers we have to divide a common bandwidth into multiple different subcarrier blocks, and those blocks of subcarriers are being used by each individual customer to send their data, and then before sending that data from one location to another location, all these subcarriers are then coupled together, which are sharing a common bandwidth, and the data is sent from one location to another location. And in FTM systems we usually use it for the sending of the analog data, and it is replaced by time division multiplexing, which is using all digital data. Then we have a video signal which is of about 6 megahertz uh, uh, wide, and this is a cable TV, which is another application of the FTM system, where we use coaxial cable fiber optics to send the video signal which is of 6 megahertz wide, and it is exhibiting the information of the video as well, or the voice of the video signal. And we have coaxial cable and fiber optics which are used to send those data signals, the video signals, which are of about 6 megahertz wide, and because these communication channels the coaxial cable and fiber optic have enormous bandwidth, and the cable TV system can also be employed for the internet purposes as well. Then for the purpose of recording the voice of a channel, we can use multiple microphones, and because to send some voice for broadcasting purposes, it is better to have two microphones, one put at various location and the other put at some other location. And when the signals from these microphones are retrieved, then it is necessary to send those two signals to the audience. And because it is better to have two recording microphones of a single voice to provide a realistic reproduction of the original sound, and for the purpose of sending these two voices we have to do some multiplexing, and for that we use frequency division multiplexing techniques to transmit these independent signals by a single transmitter. So we have already discussed the frequency division multiplexing. Now is the time to discuss the time division multiplexing. As we know that in frequency division multiplexing, a common bandwidth is shared among different signals, and we have subcarriers on which we have individual transmitter signal is sent via those subcarriers, and the bandwidth is being shared among the signals among of different transmitters. While in time division multiplexing, the entire bandwidth is being used by transmitter and receiver, and the time slots are divided. And if we have, for example, 10 transmitters which are sending data to 10 receivers, then each transmitter can use the entire bandwidth, but for only a brief period of time. And the time division multiplexing is used for both analog and digital signal communication. Here you can see that we have a frame, and one frame is getting information from 4 transmitters in different time slots, and then it is the next frame which is starting from here, which is again sending information of the 4 signals, and then the data is being shared in the form of frames. So sampling an analog signal creates a pulse amplitude modulation, and the analog signal is converted to a series of constant width pulses whose amplitude follows the shape of the original signal, and the original signal is recovered by passing through a low pass filter. In TDM using PAM, a circuit called multiplexer samples the multiple analog sources. The pulses are interleaved and transmitted over the channel. What is being said over here is that we have an analog signal, and that analog signal is transformed into uh, these rectangular pulses, and the transformation of this analog signal into this rectangular pulses is the first step for the time division multiplexing. And over here you can see these are the rectangular pulses which are following the shape of the signal, and these can be used to represent the signal, and this is called pulse amplitude modulation over here. So transformation of the analog signal into the sample pulses is called pulse amplitude modulation, which is the first step towards time division multiplexing. So the previous slide I skipped over there because it is explaining this diagram, and you can see over here that we have the time division multiplexing is using switches which are in such a way, which can be a rotatory switch in which you can have an arm which is rotating among different contacts. These are the 4 contacts, and these 4 contacts are connected to 4 transmitters, and the arm is rotating with in anti-clockwise or clockwise direction among these contacts for a brief period of time. And the result of that is that when this arm is over here, the transmitter is sending data to the multiplex output. When this arm is over here, here or here, the data of these transmitters is being sent to the multiplex output, and this is a simple rotatory switch which is used for the time division multiplexing. So This description is about this figure, and you can see if we have 4 transmitters, and the first transmitter has a sine wave, the C transmitter has also a sine wave, while the D transmitter has a constant DC signal, as well as the B transmitter has a ramp signal. So all these signals are transformed into their uh, equivalent pulse amplitude modulation representations, and then they are you can see over here the one frame is containing information of different signals, and you can see it from here. So this is basically telling us about various terminologies used in time domain multiplexing. Here the switch which is doing the switching operation, the rotatory switch, is termed as a commutator device, and in one frame we have the input of all the transmitters which are connected with the multiplexer. If we have 4 transmitters, then the frame contains 4 readings. If we have 10 transmitters, then the frame contains 10 readings, and this is the frame which is having the information of all the transmitters which are connected to the multiplexer. This forms of one frame, and the number of frames which are completed in 1 second is called as a frame rate over here. And then the frame rate, when multiplied by the samples per frame, then it gives us the multiplex rate or the commutation rate, which is the basic frequency of the composite signal transmitted over the communication channel. So in for time domain multiplexing, we can use commutator switches, we can use mechanical switches, but it is in practical applications we use electronic switches instead of mechanical switches or commutators, because we need switching at a very fast rate or high rate, and for that purpose we use FET transistors, which are giving us very high switching speeds and the relevant amplification, and ideal for our TDM applications. So this is a diagram of explaining about the TDM multiplexer. Here you can see we have 4 transistors which are MOSFETs, and these are 4 transmitters, the transmitter 0, transmitter 1, transmitter 2 and 3, and we have a summing amplifier over here, and then we have multiplexed output over here after the amplification, and then we have some logics which is implemented over here. These are some AND or NAND gates which are controlling the gates voltages of the MOSFETs, and we have one short multivibrator which is getting information from the clock cycle, and this one short multivibrator is basically generating the triangular waves based on the instructions of the clock and the resistors over here. And we have these kind of different inputs, these kind of different conventions over here. You can see that the clock cycle is controlling the resistors as well, it is controlling the one shot multivibrator as well, and the one shot multivibrator is controlling the NAND gates as well, and the NAND gates output is dependent upon this programming system, and it ons one transmitter at a time and offs all the other transmitters. So at a time only one transmitter is giving path from here to there, and then this transmitter is on and the other 3 are off, and then this transmitter is on and the other 3 are off. And this is a basic construction, a basic circuit diagram of a TDM demodulator, and in this way we are getting output over here, and then uh, this is basically a multiplexer, it is not a demultiplexer, it is basically a multiplexer, and we are over here, different transmitters are sending signals, and based on this programming logic we have only one transmitter which will be on at a time and the other 3 will be off, and the input then appears over here in the output, and when this is on, the input is appear over here as the output, and when this is on or this is on, their input will be represented over here in the output, where they are summated with each other to form a composite signal, which is then further amplified and then being sent to the further amplification before sending it to the antenna for transmission purposes. So this is a basic diagram of explaining about the TDM multiplexer. Then we have TDM demultiplexer. You can see over here the composite signal comes over here, over here, over here, over here, but these transmitters will be on based on the programming as explained previously, and based on this programming only one transistor will be on at a time and the other three will be off, and the input appears over here will be appearing at the output when this transmitter is on. And then we have over here an operational amplifier which is providing us the further amplification, and then we have the low pass filter which is further uh, deleting the distortions and recovering our original information signal from the composite signal. And in this way you can see that based on our switching, uh, we are controlling the switching, and once the switching is controlled, the relevant transmitter signal will be given to the relevant receiver over here. So this diagram is basically explaining the circuit diagram of a basic TDM demultiplexer. And we have to see over here that the basic problem with the demultiplexer circuit is its synchronization. The transmitter and the receiver has to be synchronized with each other in order to send the relevant transmitter data to the relevant receiver data. And for that purpose we have to have clock frequencies of the transmitter and the receivers have to be accurately matched with each other, and they have to be identical, and there should be no difference between the clock frequencies of the transmitter and receiver. And in this way, when the clock frequencies are matched, then the sequence of data at the transmitter will be the same as the sequence of data at the receiver, and the multiplexer and demultiplexer will be doing their operation in an ideal manner. And for that purpose, in order to resolve the synchronization problem, and for that reason we can use a synchronizing pulse in each frame. And in each frame, if we have, let's suppose, 4 inputs, 4 transmitter data is being sent by each frame, then we have an additional synchronizing pulse which is used with each frame, and this synchronization pulse will help in recognizing a proper synchronization between the transmitter and receiver for that purpose. And in addition to that, we can have a clock recovery cycle which is getting the PAM signal on the receiver side and doing some further processing on that PAM signal, and with the help of that we can retrieve our clock signal. And we will see in the next diagram how we will be recovering our clock signal, and we will be retrieving our synchronization pulse from the PAM signal directly, and with the help of the clock signal generated from the clock recovery circuit, and with the help of the synchronizing pulse which is retrieved from the PAM signal, we are able to uh, have synchronization on the receiver side. So over here we have two circuits. These two circuits are the clock recovery circuits. Over here we are getting the PAM signal, which is the sampled representation of the composite signal, and we are clipping it to get the rectangular pulses, and then that signal is transformed with the help of band pass filter into a sine wave, and then that signal is being fed to the phase detector, and the phase detector is also getting information from the voltage control oscillator. And if there is a phase difference between these two, then the voltage controlled oscillator value will be corrected by the error voltage which is output by the phase detector over here and converted from AC to DC by the low pass filter, and then it is being providing some input to the controlling input of voltage to the oscillator, which is then controlling his oscillations, and then these oscillations are being fed to the one shot multivibrator, which is then generating the clock signal for the PAM demultiplexer. This is one way of detecting the clock signal for the demultiplexer, and it is said as closed loop. Another way to detect the clock signal is the open loop way, in which the PAM representation is being fed to the amplifier, and where it is limiter in which it is clipped, transformed into a sine wave signal by the band pass filter, further amplified, and then there is a phase shift of 90° which is being done over here, and then it is being fed to the one shot multivibrator which is generating the clock signal. So there are two ways of generating the clock signal, and this signal is the received signal by the receiver, and this is the sampled form representation of the signal, and with the help of that signal we are able to calculate the clock signal, and which is one of the signals which is used to ensure the synchronization at the receiver side. And the other signal to ensure the synchronization of the transmitter and receiver is the synchronization pulse, which is embedded in every frame, and we can use a comparator circuit, and this comparator circuit is using a DC reference voltage, which is a kind of voltage which is just higher than it is just a maximum pulse amplitude for any channel. We have some kind of reference voltage because the synchronization pulse is a pulse which is we have embedded this pulse at a very maximum level in order to distinct it from other pulses which are already present in the particular frame. So every frame is containing input from each transmitter and a high amplitude synchronization pulse, and then we have other frame which is also containing one synchronization pulse and the three transmitter data, and with the help of comparator where we are inputting this PAM signal over here, and we are inputting some reference voltage like this voltage level over there, and then we will be comparing that PAM signal with the DC reference, and then it will be outputting this synchronization pulse because all the voltages which are less than that DC reference will be neglected by this comparator, and the only the one which is higher than this DC reference and the voltage present in the PM signal which will be outputted over here in the comparator. So once we have the clock signal from either of this circuit and we have a synchronization pulse, we are now able to synchronize the transmitter with the receiver, and this is a diagram of the PAM demultiplexer. Over here you can see that the PAM input, which is the uh, pulse amplitude modulation input, which is representation, sampled form representation of a signal, is coming over here, and with the help of comparator circuit we are giving synchronization pulse over here, and with the help of clock recovery circuit we are giving clock pulse over here, and the synchronous detector gets the synchronization pulse and the clock signal, and with the help of those it is generating a programmed environment over here which is controlling the gate voltages of the switches of the FETs, and then these FET switches are on at a very high rate and only providing one path over here for a small duration. So only one path will be on for a particular duration, and the signal which will be coming over here, afterwards here, and then will be here, afterwards here and here, and then from the low pass filter it is being retrieved as an original signal over here. Now we have pulse code modulation. The most popular form of TDM uses pulse code modulation. With this modulation, multiple channels of digital data are transmitted in serial form. Each channel is assigned a time slot in which to transmit one binary word of data, and the data streams from the various channels are interleaved and transmitted sequentially. And in PCM, pulse code modulation multiplexer, when the PCM is used to transmit analog signals, the signals are sampled with a multiplexer. The signals are then further converted by an A to D converter into a series of binary number. Each number is proportional to the amplitude of the analog signal at various sampling points. These binary words are converted from parallel to serial format and then transmitted, and at the receiving end the various channels are demultiplexed. The original sequential binary numbers are recovered and stored in a digital memory. They are then transferred to a D to A converter that reconstructs the analog signal. So you can see over here in the pulse code modulation what is happening over here. You can see it from the diagram. We have a voice signal which is coming over here, which is a kind of analog signal, and then that analog signal is being fed to the analog to digital converter, which converts that signal into digital numbers like 10101, and these numbers are being temporarily stored in the shift register, and then these numbers are coming from the A to D converter in a parallel form, and then they are being transformed into a serial form over here and sent to the digital multiplexer, which is also getting information from such like systems over here, here or here. And then we are also sending a synchronization pulse over here, and we are sending 1 2 3 4 5 transmitters and one synchronization pulse over here to complete one frame, and we have a clock pulse over here which is controlling the programming over here, and we have digital switches over here like the FETs which are making way from input to output connection only once for a small duration, and it revolves like this and then comes over here and then comes over here, and once it starts from here to here, then we have one frame which is completed and it is being transmitted over the output. It can be sent as a baseband PCM channel, PCM signal, and with the help of some twisted pair or coaxial cable, or it can further be modulated by some oscillation signal into AM or FM, and then amplified in the RF frequency and then being sent with the help of a radio channel. So this is a simple PCM channel demonstration over here. In the previous case, we have seen the PCM multiplexers operation. Over here, it is the demonstration of the PCM demultiplexer. We can see the literature. At the receiving end, the PCM signal is demultiplexed and converted back into the original data. If the PCM signal has modulated a carrier and is being transmitted by radio, the RF signal will be picked up by a receiver and demodulated. The original serial PCM binary waveform is recovered and fed to a shaping circuit to clean up and further purify. Rejuvenate means purify the binary pulses. The original signal is then demultiplexed by a digital multiplexer using AND or NAND gates. So what is he is saying over here can be elaborated by this diagram, in which we can see this is a basic diagram of the PCM receiver demultiplexer, where we have an antenna which is giving an electromagnetic signal over here, converting it into an electronic signal, and then it is being fed to the demodulator, which separates the RF frequency oscillation and recovers composite signal over here, which can be sent via as a baseband signal to some PCM systems, or it can be this signal. It can be sent to the clock recovery circuit to recover the clock signal, and this signal is sent to the digital multiplexer, which is again detecting the synchronization pulse, and with the help of synchronization pulse present in the composite signal, and with the help of clock recovery circuit clock output which is recovered from that signal, we can control the programming over here, which is controlling the switching over here, and we have input appearing at the output, input appearing at the output, and only one input is appearing at the output, and this is doing at a very fast rate in order to ensure the synchronization between the transmitter and the receiver, so that the relevant transmitter data is being sent to the relevant receiver. And this information, for example, coming over here, it is stored in the temporary memory unit register, and then converted from digital to analog equivalent, passed through a low pass filter to recover the original signal. So this is a demonstration of an original kind of PCM receiver demultiplexer system. So what are the benefits of PCM? That it provides a reliable, inexpensive and highly resistant noiseless system, and we have the transmitted binary pulses all have the same amplitude and can be clipped to reduce noise, And if we have some signal which is degraded by the noise, attenuation or distortion, the receiver just have to think about it that either the pulse is transmitted or not, either it is 1 or 0, and that's all, and there is no other adverse effects of the noise. And so the PCM signals can be easily recovered and they can be further refreshed and purified. And then we have another applications of TDM, which is a digital carrier system, which is the most widely used TDM system for telephone applications. And this is also called as T carrier system, which is based on the PCM and TDM applications. And its physical implementation is also referred as T1, T2, T3 and T4. And what is the T1 system? It is the most widely used PCM system, and here we have 24 channels, and each channel is of about 64 kilobits. Uh, let's suppose we have a voice signal. A voice signal is of about 4 kilohertz, and when we transform that signal into uh, digital sample, then it can be 8 kilohertz, and each digital sample is equal to 8 bits, and it is represented by 8 bits. So 8 kilohertz multiplied by 8 bits per sample means 64 kilobits per second. So every voice channel, when converted from analog, which is of about 4 kilohertz, into digital of about 64 kilobits per second, is multiplied by the 24, because each voice channel is either analog 4 kilohertz or either digital 64 kilobits per second. So in that case, in the T1 system, each digital signal is voice signal is a digital signal, and it is of about 64 kilobits per second. It is multiplied by 24, and then we have the overall output of the T1 system is the 24 voice signals, and it can be of higher uh, data rate. And then we have further data rates like T2, like T3, like T4, which are further increasing the rates of the inputs to the outputs, and you can see it from the diagram in the book where the further explanation will be done. So till here we have completed our topics, and now we will be focusing on the numericals of this chapter. In this numerical, it is saying that every if we have any video channel is about 6 megahertz wide, and we have overall bandwidth of that much, 860 megahertz, then how many video channels can be exhibited in this bandwidth? So it is can be achieved by simply dividing it with 6 megahertz, and we can have 143 video channels which can be uh, attached in this bandwidth. Then we have another numerical which is telling us that a special PCM system is using 16 channels, one whose purpose is identification and synchronization. The sampling rate is 3.5 kilohertz, the word length is 6 bits, and find the number of available data channels. As it is already saying that we have one uh, identification and synchronization channel, and out of those 16 channels, so the number of data channels will be 16 minus 1 is equal to 15 data channels. And then it is asking us about to calculate the number of bits per frame, and as we already know that the word length of is about 6 bits, and we have about 16 channels, and each channel is having a word length of about 6 bits. So we have bits per frame will be, any frame will be containing that much amount of channels, which is 16 channels in one frame. So if each channel is represented by 6 bits, then we have number of bits in the channel, number of bits in a frame will be 6 multiplied by 16, which is 96 bits in one frame. Then it is saying us to calculate the serial data rate, and the serial data rate will be equal to sampling rate multiplied by the number of bits per frame. And we have the sampling rate over here is 3.5 kilohertz, and the total number of bits in the frame will be 96, then it will be 336 kilohertz. So that's all for today's lecture.